Okay, we're gonna start this, and we're gonna keep it nice and clean and simple.
Hmm.
Let's do some show reviews on shows that we've watched recently.
We have
This is our
watched.
topic.
Yeah,
This
we've
is our
watched a lot of shows
topic.
recently.
We
Yeah,
really have. Um,
we watched Centaurworld, Kid Cosmic season 2. We watched
we talked about Demon
Jujutsu
Slayer a
Kaisen.
little bit last time, but
Yeah,
we should probably give an honest review about that. And
Demon
today,
Slayer, and yeah,
sitting all together today, we watched Q Force. So Justin,
the
which one do you
trailer
want?
that
Which
shook
one do you want
the
to start with?
world. Let's
Let's
let's start with Centaurworld.
Centaur World. Okay,
Yeah,
who wants to?
Centaurworld is
Do you want
probably
to give
the
a
show that
synopsis?
surprised me the
Synopsis? Oh,
most.
dude, it shocked me. Absolutely. Do you want to give like a synopsis or?
Yeah. So Centaur World is about a horse that
Mm-hmm.
is from a war, like a I guess a world. I don't know how much of the world is in war, but just the world that we know of
And it's being
that the
attacked
horse is
by
from.
minotaurs.
Yeah. It's like, huh, mythical beast. I wonder where they came from.
By the way, we should probably clarify spoilers.
Spoilers? Yeah, spoiler alert, by the way. But yeah,
Anyways,
so this horse is named Horse.
yeah,
It gets
yeah,
transported
she is.
into Centaur World, a world where it's centaurs combined with normal animals, and they talk and have magic abilities and such.
And sing a lot.
You got alpaca centaurs, giraffe tars, you
Wama
got bird
Wink.
tars, you got llama wink, bird guy.
Isn't bird guy's name Chet?
Yeah, Chet.
And they all have their own
Zulius.
individual magical powers. Chet's is my favorite. He
He
has
can make himself handsome for eight
handsome
seconds.
face. It's so funny. It's so stupid. Then there's Water Baby, who's one of the sages. Oh yeah. So
He's a
Horse's job.
kleptomaniac.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
She just
So
steals things.
and puts them in her tummy,
Portal stomach.
portal tummy. It's a portal tummy.
From where I put all my prizes.
But yeah, basically plot is Horse wants to go back to Ryder. Ryder is Horse's Ryder.
Yeah. Very creative names they have.
So Horse has to go through Centaur World, as is aptly named, and try and find the pieces to a key to escape and go back to her own world.
Hmm.
And she does.
It
And
just so happens that.
wait, we'll talk about that in a second.
Alright.
We first have to mention the way the show looks. Because with a name like Centaur World, it's like it could go two ways, right? It could be super cool, like Greek mythology centaurs, or it could be the way that it actually was. And that's a shameless
Which
My
is
Little
framed,
Pony
which
ripoff.
is, yeah, which is framed as in. Its art style is for. Well, like, what.
It's rated
I'm trying to think of the.
TVY7.
Yeah. Where it's like. Where you would think from a first glance it's just only intended for younger audiences.
But then,
Oh
but
boy.
then,
So, between the normal, I'll just call it the human world, because it's where humans and all, I guess, normal things considered
and like
normal
Horse is a horse,
things.
and
Yeah. So the human world and centaur world is separated. There is a realm in between those worlds,
a
and
little pocket dimension.
yeah, and trapped inside of that is it's a guy called the Nowhere King, and he's
Now,
evil.
I will say, something really cool about uh, this show is that the Nowhere King has a theme that'll
The
just
Nowhere King
play.
theme's sick.
It'll just play underneath everything, really, really softly at certain points. Fucking
Yeah.
YouTube ads.
And like before you start, it's like the theme is like played once, I think, at the end of episode 4, and then like once again in like episode 7.
Like
And
it
like the way it's framed, it's like if you're not like paying attention to it, then it's just like, oh, it's just like a cute little like lullaby theme. But then the lyrics of it are crazy.
Hush now, I know you little ones, rush now into the middle of nowhere. Singing and laughter will die. Dreamless sleep follows the nowhere king. When his kingdom comes, darkness is night. Quiet, crawl through the in-between, silent, secretive feeling of fear, some hatred that reaches the skies. You will bring joy to the nowhere king when he sees the light leaving your eyes.
like what the fuck is even
Oh,
that?
I like how like it's like crawl through the in between sides, like, and that's basically just like if you ever happen to end up here, hope and pray you do not wake him up.
Like literally, just pray. Just then, of course, I will say there are two songs that just blow me away in this. That's one of them.
The other one is was it like the other human that's in the? Because I like her song like a
Her
lot.
song's good, but that's not the one I'm talking about. Before we get into that though, because that is another like key song to this,
Mhm.
the Nowhere King's design.
Yeah, the Nora King's design. When he first showed up, I was like, oh god. I was like, what is that thing?
So to give context onto what like this whole thing was about, you start and you see all of these like cartoony like we're gonna stretch our butts around and we're gonna make our necks grow all long like Toon Physics. Like
Yeah.
it's genuine. Like we're gonna make little tiny people pop out of our hooves, and then you see this way too realistic.
Amalgamation of limbs.
No. You see this way too realistic deer skull with green flames for eyes in just a puddle of inky blackness that just creeps around and sludges around and like will reach out at you and can cover an entire dimension in just nothingness.
Yeah.
And you're just there like, what in the hell?
What I'll assume is that the Nowhere King was like that other human's horse or something. That's probably
Well,
what I
I'd have to assume so. You will only understand this if you watch the show. That's
Yeah.
because it's a good show. It like genuinely surprised me at how good it is. But the other song that caught me off guard was Ryder's Lullaby.
Oh yeah.
Fucking YouTube ads. God bless America.
Come on, it's the Navy Federal Credit Union.
You're okay. You're alright. I'll never ever leave your side. I will stay. And I will fight with you. You're okay. You're alright. I'll stay here through the darkest night. All the way, I will fight with you.
And that's the first song we hear.
Yeah.
That was the moment that I knew, like, okay, this show
show's
might
not
be
what I thought it was.
this show might be something good.
I did not know it was a musical going into it,
I didn't either,
like, at all.
but I cannot say I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Also,
Now-
Ryder's pretty.
Ryder's very pretty. I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah, Ryder's very pretty.
So I don't want to go like too far into it because I want people to go watch it.
But numerical rating, what would you give? What would you give it?
I'd say, hmm, I would say that Centaur World is currently at 8 because I'd assume it'll have a season 2.
It better have a
So,
season 2.
and then my rating will probably go up from there, going into season 2.
I think as of right now,
Because like for the first 3 episodes, I was like, all right, it's just
I mean,
and then I was like, oh, I guess I gotta keep watching because now I'm addicted.
there's another show that's very similar to that later on. But
yeah.
I would say an 8 out of 10 is very solid. Like, I don't remember every episode, but I do remember certain key parts of it that are like what got me hooked.
Yeah.
Like how Pretty Rider is. I remember that was like episode 1. We were just like, okay.
Oh shit.
So good character design is something that they can do in this show.
Yeah, I was like, is everyone gonna look like that? What's the human character gonna look like? It's like,
Oh. And immediately I got the show. Now what's next?
Let's see. We got. Let's go with Jujutsu Kaisen.
Ooh, do you want me to cover this one?
Yeah.
All right. So Jujutsu Kaisen follows a high school boy named Yuji Itadori. And Yuji is, for some reason, the most athletic person in the world.
Yeah.
Like
He can run like
faster than Usain
50
Bolt.
meters in 3 seconds. I think that's what he did.
Yeah, something like that. And he threw that like lob ball that you
like
throw
that.
in the Olympics. Like
He beat the world record first try without trying.
Which was just absurd. He pitched it like a baseball, and it got stopped by a soccer net. What the hell, man? But
You're
yeah,
not allowed to be that athletic.
and episode 1, his grandpapa gets ripperoonied.
He's like, Yuji, how about your parents? And then he's like, I don't want to hear about them. I'm like, why not?
Like, I want to hear about your parents, but Yuji's just like, I don't want to hear about my parents. So we don't learn anything about Yuji's parents. My theory is that Sukuna, another character in this show, is his dad
Sukuna
or his mom.
is the biggest of the bad demons.
Like in the entire universe that Jujutsu Kaisen created.
So to save his friends, Yuji eats the big bad demon's finger.
Because he was part of the occult club, where they did occult things, like Ouija boards, and staying out after dark.
Ooh.
And going to haunted houses and shit. And this dude, Megumi Fushiguro, shows up and is just like, look, I'm just looking for this. I'm looking for this cursed object. And Yuji's like,
oh yeah,
I found that. And Fushiguro's like, you gave that to your friends? What were you thinking?
Well, it's just a finger.
So he didn't know it was a finger yet.
It was a finger-shaped object.
Turns out that thing was one of 20 of the most dangerous items in all of Jujutsu Kaisen world.
Yeah.
One of the 20 fingers.
A special grade, well, I guess higher than special grade from what we know of Sukuna now.
A spooper special grade cursed object. Justin, would you like to explain the tier list while we're at it before we move on to the rest of it?
Okay, so there's a ranking system for both Jujutsu sorcerers and demons. And there's it goes from C grade all the way to special grade.
It goes 4th, 3rd. You know, it's fine.
As special, or I don't know, something, whatever.
You understand. It's 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, special.
Yeah, it's fine. So anyway, They're just kind of making anything special grade these days, you know. But like
We'll
Sukuna,
cover that in a second.
he's real special, and his fingers are like the most sought after object in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen so far.
By curses, which are demons, and
Yeah,
jujutsu sorcerers, which are the exorcists, alike.
yeah.
So
And there's this guy named Gojo. He's pretty funny.
he just cheats. He cheats.
He's a big cheater.
He comes in at the end of episode 1 when Yuji Itadori, spoiler alert, eats Sukuna's finger and in a 1 in a million chance incarnates Sukuna, meaning Sukuna takes over his body. But it turns out Yuji's so stubborn, he doesn't let Sukuna take over his body.
Yeah.
And Sukuna's like, why is this little kid fighting back against me?
He's like, Yuji.
Yuji.
Let you control Yuji. And Yuji's like, nah.
I don't want that. And then Gojo shows up and is just like, give me 10 seconds with this guy, and beats his fucking ass.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, onto the power level, because we kind of skipped over that.
Yeah.
4th grade, you need to
Trash.
use cursed energy, because cursed energy is the magic / mana of this universe, so it's just like the catch-all.
Yeah.
4th grade is the equivalent of like, if you had a wooden bat, you could kill it.
Yeah.
3rd grade is like, if you had a handgun, you'd be fine. 2nd grade is if you had a grenade, you should still be fine. 1st grade, a tank might not be enough. And special grade is the equivalent of a carpet bombing of cluster bombs. Probably won't work.
You need basically a nuclear bomb if you're a human to stop a special grade.
Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing is, that's how special curses work. Like, that's the curse tier list. Sorcerers essentially function 1/2 step above. So, to be registered a 4th grade Jujutsu sorcerer, you have to be able to beat every 4th grade.
Yeah.
3rd grade, beat every 3rd grade, etc., going up. Back to Gojo, he's a special grade sorcerer.
Yeah.
Which means he kind of just...
His power is cheating.
Explain his power for us, please. If you
I
don't
kind
mind.
of don't want. I want if they want to go back to like watch it.
Oh yeah, that's true. But suffice it to say, his power is cheating.
Yeah.
And he decides, hey, you know, this Yuji kid, I could take him under my wing and mold him to be a new kind of sorcerer.
Except like he's like, oh yeah, by the way, when we get all 20 fingers, like Yuji's job currently is to collect all 20 of Sukuna's fingers, and since he's able to keep Sukuna in check, store those fingers so that they will be gone from the world and no one will be able to use them ever again for harm or whatever.
And they'll kill him. They will
kill him afterwards. And his choices were like, we either kill you now or we kill you when we get to 20.
And he's like, I guess kill me later. That way I can do something only I can do and die a good death, because that's the theme that his grandpa said.
He's like, Yuji, die a good death. And he's like, okay, grandpa. And then the grandpa died 2 seconds after.
It was kind of tragic, but it was very funny too. So,
yeah,
you know, because we made it funny, because when we watch things, we can't take it seriously for the life of us.
Yeah. For like through the second half of the series, we just like made up our own headcanon of like Sukuna showing up like at random points to be like, Yuji, hey Yuji, let's watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Yuji.
Sukuna, I really don't want to.
But it's the best anime ever made, Yuji.
Hey, Yuji, are you and Sukuna talking about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Yeah, he keeps saying we have to watch it.
Come on, Yuji. It's the best show ever made. Look, I know I probably shouldn't get involved in this, but it is the best anime ever made. I'll
Yeah, I
watch it
remember.
with you.
Also, between every like I guess like if this aired on TV, it would be where the commercial breaks are,
Yeah.
where the
Midway,
Jujutsu
midway
Kaisen
points.
logo
Midway
shows up.
points.
Yeah, the midway points of an episode where the logo shows up, it's like just the name of the show. We just be like Full Metal Alchemist because it's just what happens on Full Metal
Full
Alchemist.
Metal
We
Alchemist.
did this every single time
Full
for
Metal
all 24
Alchemist.
episodes.
Yeah, it was. It
we did
was
it.
a
We did
thing.
this 48 times.
We did it so much, but it was still a very fun experience to watch it with you.
Yeah.
Now, who is your favorite character?
My favorite character is Gojo.
Mine
It's
is.
Well, the old man's also pretty funny.
I can't spoil the old
Actually,
man's
no,
power. The old man's
yeah.
power is so funny.
I think actually my favorite character is the guy that pretends that him and Yuji are friends.
Toto, yeah.
Yeah, Toto's my favorite.
He's easily my favorite. He just claps. Oh, we're in different places now. You're my brother, Yuji.
What's your type of girl, Yuji?
I'd have to say, tall with a nice ass, like Jennifer Lawrence.
He starts crying. He's like, "You're my
Yes!
brother. We're the best of friends."
And then he made up a scenario where they went to middle school together. You know?
Yeah, as you do.
Now, of course, Toto also said, "Look, brother, I'm not going to help you unless you can land this impossible move that only the top, like, 1% of sorcerers can land ever. And if you do, then I'll help."
Yeah.
And it's just like, huh. I wonder if he's going to do it. And then he does.
It's crazy. But yeah,
that's because that's a show I really don't want to spoil. Like,
yeah, it's really hard to talk about it.
Like Centaurworld, you have to talk about some stuff to make sure people want to watch it.
Yeah, because if you don't tell them enough, they'll be like, "Well, it's just baby shit."
Like you have to know the ending of Centaurworld to actually want to start watching it.
Yeah.
Aside from us who take it as our duty to watch
we're like
everything.
By like episode 5. Because we're like, well, that was interesting enough for me to want to continue it.
Well, our thing is also like, I feel like we have to watch every animated show.
Yeah. They got
Which is
Osmosis
a damn
Jones
shame.
on here?
Yeah, they got Osmosis Jones on Netflix.
Wow.
I'm surprised too.
So let's jump between like Western anime, because that's how many shows we have.
That sounds good to me.
Kid Cosmic Season 2.
Oh my god, I love Kid Cosmic.
Kid Cosmic fills me with so much joy.
Season 3.
Craig McCracken does not miss.
He doesn't. He just doesn't.
Which is weird, because like you have to miss sometimes.
But he doesn't.
But he doesn't.
Now, I will say, my one issue with Kid Cosmic, Kid pisses me off.
I love Kid. I don't know.
I think it's because Kid acts way too much like I did when I was his age, and that just pisses me off.
Every time I see like kids that act like me when I was their age, I always love it because I'm like, hey, it's like me.
I hate it, but that's because personal reasons. But yeah, Kid Cosmic Season 2 took all of the good parts of Season 1 and like
gooder.
Like I don't want to say better because it was a different focus.
Yeah. It's because
like,
each season, Craig McCracken said it wants to focus on a different character. We'll talk about the last focus later.
So but, let's talk Season 1. Season 1 focused on Kid.
Yeah. Kid who has this idea of heroes already from comic books in his own head, where it's like heroes are the guys that show up and like beat up aliens that try to show up to Earth, and then they're the heroes, and that's it. But he doesn't really get why heroes help people. So like season 1 was about that, with like him learning why heroes help people. So I think it's like a really good story about that.
I have a cracker in my
I
mouth,
really
so
like that
keep going.
So let's see. More about season 1 or season 2?
One.
For just like one. Okay. So yeah, kid stumbles across 5 cosmic rings of power. And that's just basically like he's like, "Oh, that's what I've wanted this whole time." Like stones that give me abilities like heroes in comics. So then he gets a stone, he gives one to Joe, Papa G, Rosa, and his pet cat.
Well, the cat steals it, but you
Well,
know.
yeah, but like he lets him keep it. Well,
That's
like
true.
it's more like he like put it on. He's like, "Well, I put the last ring in safe hiding," and he's tied it to tuna sandwich.
Yeah. And then
And like,
the main
yeah,
antagonist for season 1 is arguably my favorite character in the show.
yeah, he's definitely my top 3.
Would you like to explain him since you're taking care of season 1?
So this alien's name is like blah 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 whatever, or something in his native tongue or something, but they call him Chuck.
Yeah, I love Chuck.
So
He's
Chuck
voiced by Tom
is
Kinney.
yeah, and like Chuck is like, I'm here to get the rings of power to give it back to my boss, so I can move up the ranks, become war guy, whatever. And like he loses his legs episode 1, like he can't walk anymore. Like I mean, like he like
Yeah.
gets it like he like gets stuck, so he can't use his legs episode 1. Like he gets free episode 2, but then just loses his legs episode 3.
And it's fine because
So
all
like
of his important organs are up top.
yeah, he had no dick.
True.
It'd be weird if he did.
I don't want to imagine that.
But anyway, so yeah, Chuck is the main antagonist season 1, and like since he can't walk or like do anything to the actual like protagonists, his way of being an antagonist is getting under Kid's skin, or it's like just taunting him because like Kid wants to be like the heroes that he sees in his comics so badly to the
And
point
then
where it's
Chuck
like
just masters how to manipulate this kid.
it's like, oh, you're not doing well, huh? Well, like I heard there was this scroll of the stones in the ship.
It sure would be
you
useful
could
to have
you
a
could take me
scroll of the
there.
stones.
It's like, huh? You thought you did pretty good on that solo mission you did where you took out all those robot invaders, but they were just Papa G in disguise? Why would he
Oh,
do that?
I
Doesn't
love
he
Papa
trust
G.
you with your
I love
abilities?
Papa G. Papa G's
Papa
my
G, they
favorite
did that
fucking
to just
character.
make him. It's like he was feeling so bad about himself, and
Because
like we
he
gotta
just
give him
didn't
a
think that
win.
he could do anything. And then Papa G's
Like
just like,
everyone else
look,
was like, yeah,
I'm gonna help out my grandson. We're
I'm gonna
gonna
make him feel important because he is important. He's important to me. He's important to everyone on this team.
like, yeah,
And
everyone.
it worked. It, like, sure, it's like you're lying to him, but like you're in a situation where it's like I guess like it's like do I wait for more aliens to show up trying to take the stones of power, or do I try to like do something right now to help my grandson?
And it was like he was just trying to be a good papa, good grandpa, and like
And it worked for a short time period.
it did because kid was like really
He felt
happy with
great.
himself, and it's just
He's like, I'm finally getting better because everyone else was like learning how to use their powers extremely well. Like even like Rosa, who's 4.
well, her power is pretty simple.
Yeah, it's get big, get small, but like
Yeah,
and like it's not really a spoiler to say it's like Kid's stone is like the rarest one, and I think his is the most difficult to use
I think so.
because it's not he doesn't have the power of flight. He has the power of telekinesis. So like it
But
would take
he
immense
uses it
focus to
for
always
flight.
maintain. Yeah, it takes such an amount of focus to like use it like very well. So like him being able to like fly in the first place is pretty impressive.
And he manages to, learn how to do it and
Yeah,
actually use his power to use telekinesis and all that.
yeah.
Or
It's
as
like
he
that's
says
also
it,
really
tekine-
telekinesis. Tekken.
te- techinesis.
Portugal. Yeah, the kid
Pogo.
has a lisp, and that's awesome.
I love him so much. Like it adds so much characterization in such a short amount of time. Like
Yeah, I
just
like that. Like with
that
like
little
the
quirk
stones
that's
too.
like
That's yeah. Where it's like, oh yeah, it's like when you're like in real life too, where it's like you see other people like doing like what you believe like way better than you, even though you believe that you both start from the same position. But like sometimes that just it just like seems that way because like you're not that other person. So like you don't know like how like long it took them to do that or how like short of a time it did because you're not them. And like all you have to do is just like what he basically learns is like focusing on not himself, but like focusing on how to use his power in a way that lets him help the most people.
and like really trying to I think another main theme of season one was just talking about like self-improvement to see like
Yeah.
we can't compare our own levels of improvement to other people because everyone improves at their own rate and everyone gets better at their own rate and that hit me like
Mhm.
it's something that like you always get told but seeing it in action is just so nice.
Yeah. I really like season one.
Season one was so good, but
So
anyways.
like in like the going into like the end of season one where it's like kid steals the other stones of power to like take on like the aliens himself. And like
Mhm.
he does pretty well, but like he ends up like getting knocked out and then losing the stones to like the government. And the government basically is using those stones to make obviously the best team name ever made, Earth Force Enforcement Force.
God, I hate the Earth Force Enforcement Force.
They're
Earth
assholes. They're
Force
the worst.
Enforcement Force.
But they're also very funny. Their song is funny. Like them as characters, they're kind of boring. But like
I mean,
we
there's
have
the
like we only have
Canadian,
like
the
yeah
American, the Japanese lady. Uh, I don't remember the rest.
other. But yeah, but so like the government like also kidnapped 5 aliens from which the stones like they just want all the aliens wanted was to get their stones back because the stones are the remnants of their destroyed planets, and they just want that like slight feeling of I just want like something from my home that like is gone now.
Like, it's just so.
It's very sad because like they're not like trying to like take over the planet. They just want something of like theirs back again.
And, like, it felt so nice. Because also, that helped Kid learn, like, hey, maybe we should
Heroes
help
aren't
these
about
people. Like,
forming a fist. It's about extending a hand.
that was the quote, and that was such a good quote. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was like
You
that's like also like a slight thing for season one where it's like dealing with like anger properly because like
because
Kid gets
kid would
frustrated
get
so
angry a
much through
lot.
the
Yeah.
series. Like he even did that like in some parts of season two as well.
But I like how it kept it in. I think that was like look, he's still learning about it. He may not be the central focus of this season, but he's still trying to improve himself and trying to deal with how to properly fight back against the anger and to be like, okay, we got this. We can work on this. We're going to be fine. And
Yeah,
that was something that like it just felt such like a wholesome message to be, hey, just because it's not over yet doesn't mean it's gonna be awful. Like we're gonna get better, we're gonna improve, and it'll take some time, but we got this. And oh, that felt very nice.
yeah. So season one ends, and at the end of season one, Kid is like to Joe, which is one of the other members of how he calls it Kid Cosmic and the local heroes. And he
Because
says,
it's
Joe,
so
you
much
should
better.
be the leader. That's a great name, too. Kid
It
Cosmic is
really
such a
is.
kick ass superhero name.
And then the local heroes is it's such a good one.
He says to Joe that she should be the leader because most of the plans that were like successes throughout the series and like how everyone else like perceives the team is that Joe is the person that's able to come up with a plan that the other members of the team can follow. And then like it was like Kid got like I remember like Kid got like really sad because like well Rose was the muscle, like Joe's the leader, tuna sandwich is like the brains, like and like Papa G's like the pieces that like hold things together. And they're like, well, Kid's there.
And
Kid's the
they
kid, I
they
guess.
they even
And,
said kids like the comic relief, and then he walked away. But then Papa G spoke up and was like, "Hey, kid's the soul of this team." Or was it
yeah,
Joe? It
we
was one
wouldn't
of
be.
the
It
two.
was yeah, but like Kid, we wouldn't be a team if it wasn't. They were all agreeing on it. Whereas like we wouldn't be a team if it wasn't for Kid.
And it was so good.
Yeah.
And then season 2.
Yeah. So in the very end of season one, they get teleported into space to help one of the aliens that was kidnapped take on Erodius, the planet killer. The person that was responsible for the destruction of the 5 planets the original stones came from, as well as the deaths of the other 4 aliens.
And then it's just like, hey, big bad of this season announced first episode. We understand. Let's find the rest of the 13 now Power Stones
Yeah,
instead of just 5.
yeah.
So we were talking about this while we were watching it today.
Hmm.
I have my list officially of which ones I would want.
Yeah, like of the stone that you'd want in a combo move to
Limit
combo
your
move things with.
limit yourself to 3. Okay?
Okay, I would want telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
I would want pain absorption,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd probably want growth.
You see, I agree with 2 of those.
I know which one you want to sub out for something else.
Here, okay. Okay. People at home, he knows what I'm going to say. You might not. So hear me out. First, you need the pain absorption. That lets you take in as much damage as you want and release it all in like a single blast. It's like Black Panther's suit from the movies, but better because it's magic. Then, growth. So all of that, stored up damage, you can grow and it grows with you. It grows exponentially. So then all of a sudden you're dealing massive damage. And then, instead of the telekinesis, you get the super stretch powers.
Hmm.
Because then you have a giant super stretchy fist with an exponentially grown superpower, just like enormous strength and like enormous destructive abilities that you just throw at someone like you're Luffy from One Piece.
Uh,
That is the
yeah,
correct option, by the way.
that is the only answer. So yeah, so in like season two, the focus on season two is about Joe and her lead and how she learns how to be a leader. And like we already got like like snippets of that like plot in season one. And
Like
like I
it's
also
not
like
just a
how in season two, like
it,
it also like
oh, it's so good.
keeps like going with Kid with like him learning how to be a hero and how like he's still shaping his ideals about it. So I like that. It's like just like it's a continuation of the same story, but just from a different angle. I like that a lot. That doesn't feel like, oh, these characters aren't showed too much, or like these characters just don't feel the same as they were, because it does.
Like no one gets thrown away, and I think that
Yeah,
is incredible.
and like in episode one, um, we learn that Erodius has a fanboy.
Yeah, he's just an incel.
Phantos the Amasser, who is obsessed with Erodius, the 13 Power Stones, and to an extent Queen John, because she's the only survivor of Erodius.
Yeah, it's
So like Joe as a leader on Earth was able to do things a lot better because a lot of the things they were doing were smaller scale. Because they were just like, oh, we're just gonna be doing this for like ever, I guess, or like for a long, long time. We're just protecting the citizens of like this middle of nowhere town. But then she's thrust into a situation where it's like, oh, you now have to lead your team to take on a planet killer that killed a lot of people, destroyed many planets.
Like
And
a
that's a
lot.
lot of pressure for like a teenager. And like she
Uh,
just gets some horrible advice from Queen John in episode 1, which is just mainly the season's about her taking the wrong path for like the majority of it.
it really is. And like it shows how like you know as you're watching it what path she has to take.
So it's
But
interesting to see like at like I don't know like the failings of someone like that, where it's like in episode 2, she like gets through like a puzzle pyramid by basically cheating through most of it, and like she like that cheating ends up getting the team in danger. So like she has to start over like the puzzle all the way from the beginning in time to save them again, and she does through it without cheating. So you would think by the end of that episode that'd be like, oh, I can't just rush through things. I have to like be patient with my team and with problem solving to like figure out the best solution to a problem. But it's interesting because it's like since she still has the advice she got from Queen John, she just kind of is like, well, I don't really know how I did it, you know? And that's I don't know, that's really interesting.
it is.
Where it's
It's
like where like kids' losses, he takes a lot of it to the chin. Where it's like, oh, I know I did this wrong. Like he would always like be able to recognize which pieces he did wrong without with like missing like a vital area that would keep him from making like those similar mistakes in the future. But it was like Joe was like not willfully, but like ignorant of what her failings were in that mission.
and she just kept, making the same mistakes over and over. And I really loved the subplot that was like her and her mom were
Yeah.
like having a bit of trouble, and then it's just so.
It felt like Queen John was taking Joe away from her mom, Flo.
And they did such a like the way the animators made that sort of like character acting decision of like how the eyes moved in certain scenes, how the faces felt. It felt so genuine and so real. And
Yeah.
it's I'm not gonna
I
lie.
think
I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
The character design is not my favorite.
I definitely had to get used to it. Like I know it's emulating like a mix of I don't know. It's pretty
Like
visually
90s
distinct.
cartoons. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's very much like a 90s cartoon. And
Yeah.
you get used to it really quickly. It's just like coming back to it, it was like, oh yeah, this is how this is animated. And it's a little bit like,
Where it's like
okay,
they're trying to emulate like a comic style. Where it's like kind of like in Spider-Verse, it's like they animate at a lower frame rate to make it feel more choppy and like to the page. And that style definitely takes a long time to like get used to fully.
but they do a really good job.
Yeah.
And then
Like
of
I
course,
think Kit's design is just, like peak good design. I don't know. I really like his like glasses and his headphones with the
it's
antenna
so
on.
iconic. Like it makes so much sense for his character too, of like that space head and all of that. It's so
Oh, yeah,
mm.
did you? He wears the cape that Kid wears is like a cape that his mom made when he was a little kid, and the reason it's small on him now is because he keeps the same one. That's very sad,
It's very sad.
but also very I don't know. It's really good.
Like there's such an underlying subplot to this entire show of like what happened to Kid's parents. We know it was a car crash, but like how did Papa G like help Kid deal with that?
And we'll definitely get that like a lot in season 3
Cuz
because
season
season 3 is
3,
about Papa G
would you like to reveal specifically
and
about?
how he learns about sacrifice, which that sentence does not bode well for the character. But I hope I don't know. I hope it's like like not like a misdirect that he still does learn about the sacrifice, but that he survives. I hope that he doesn't die.
I really hope he doesn't die.
Yeah, I'm holding out hope. I'll hold out hope. But like
Because Papa G's my favorite character, easily.
he's also my top three. Where it's like I think it's like season two is really interesting because like I think I kind of understand both perspectives of Joe and Flo, where it's like Joe like feels that like Flo thinks that she's just like not good at being a leader or that she'll just choke. And like it does like I would understand why she would feel that way from like certain scenes that have happened in season two. But like if like you just like look at like underlying details that it's like, oh yeah, your mom's like your big cheerleader. She like thinks that like you got this.
And it's so. Oh, I don't know. We're trying not to spoil it, and we're just sort of going on a rant now.
Yeah.
So
I'm tiptoeing a lot around a lot of things.
I know I'm trying to too, but
I'm just
it's
trying to I'm just focusing on like the main like synopsis and like characterization.
it's really hard to not get into the actual spoiler territory
Because
because
like
this
this the
show's
series is
plot is
very short.
so good. I think it's like
It's
20 episodes right now between the two seasons.
season one's 10 and season two is 8 and season three is 6 because Craig McCracken said that he just wanted to focus completely on like only story and that like oh season one works a lot better as 10 episodes, season two works a lot as 8, and season 6 will work a lot better as 3. But like also it's not like this one is like shorter than the other season because like there's like Netflix is pretty like fine with like you having like an episode like because like I think episode 5 of season 2 is like 17 minutes long, but then like 3 of the episodes are like 25 minutes long,
But it's
and then like
so
a lot of
good.
season 1 episodes are 20 minutes long. So
And
it's
and you don't even catch it. Like you get so
yeah.
wrapped up in the story that ultimately it just becomes this sort of
So I
like,
think he did a really
yeah,
good job doing it. Where it's
he
like,
did
yeah,
it. He did a
this episode
fantastic job.
works really well being like this contained in this amount of time because we need to get this amount of information moving forward.
And he never overstepped it. Like
So this series always felt like a really perfect binge show, as well as like if you want to like stop and take a break, that's fine because you're not gonna feel like you're not gonna be able to like hop back into it at any point.
and it's so good. Like 10 out of 10, you have to watch
Yeah,
this. This is
yeah,
one that it's
I
like
completely recommend Kid Cosmic to like everyone.
I have recommended Kid Cosmic to pretty much everyone I know.
Like I don't care if you think it's like anime, like because one, if you think anime should get you wrong, but I like I don't know. I think this show like this is the reason we talk about this long is because this is my favorite of the 5 we're talking about today.
Oh, easily. Easily my favorite of the 5. Like it is such a good show that you genuinely just have to watch for yourself. Like I cannot stress this enough. This is a show that I would and I will rewatch an
For
innumerable amount of
yeah,
times, like years to come.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, watch Kid Cosmic like right now if you want to. It's on Netflix.
You have to watch it. You have to. It's a show that like there's no reason you shouldn't be watching it. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
and I will say it again. Craig McCracken does not miss.
He doesn't. He doesn't. And then we have to say this. The last episode of season 2,
Does have a Powerpuff Girls reference.
and it's
So
so good.
if
It's
you're an
so
oldie,
good.
if you're an oldie,
Like
you know,
me.
if you're a millennial,
I'm not a millennial, but it's
but
so good.
if you're that old, then and you liked Powerpuff Girls way back in the '90s, then watch Kid Cosmic because I think you'll be like, oh yeah, this is like that show, but like I don't know, way better.
Also, the reason Craig McCracken, at least my working theory is, put this show on Netflix aside from the runtimes was so that he could get tuna sandwich to say, "Damn."
Oh yeah, you get one joke from me of a spoily, not like a spoily joke, but like a joke from Kid Cosmic season 2. tuna sandwich does hit on an intergalactic space cap underneath its
It's
heel.
so good. Oh
It's very
my
funny.
god. I I was I was freaking out. It was one of the funniest things I've seen in such a long time, and I'm not even sure why.
It's because tuna sandwich's voice is also really funny,
Kid,
but like
not now, kid.
he,
I'm trying to get
this old tomcat's on the prowl.
kid. This old tomcat's on the prowl. Hey, baby, I think I got my special catnip I've been saving.
uh, watch Kid Cosmic.
Watch Kid Cosmic. Next show is
Demon
Demon
Slayer.
Slayer. Oh, I love Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer is all like in a combination of like a fun show with very good action elements, and I'm very excited to see where the story goes from where we are.
I just like anime, and I like shonens, and I like the pretty colors. Yeah.
Like, man, the animation in that show is great.
The special effects are what blow me away every time. Like, so breathing techniques, yada yada. It's been out for a while. It's not spoiler.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, and I ruined this for Justin before we even started watching it. All of the special effects aren't happening in their world.
It's very sad.
It's just
But-
something to make us as the viewer be like, "Oh, this is really good looking," and they're right, but oh, it feels good.
Yeah. But like, from a viewer perspective, I'm just like, hey, that looks pretty.
Like, because it does suck when you start thinking about it, but if you don't think about it at all, it's perfect. Like, you can just be
I
like,
don't think it's like retcon too somehow, where it's like, oh, you can use water breathing to like flood this area or whatever. I don't know.
I mean,
I'll be like, yes, the effect was there all along.
like,
So wait, are we talking about only Demon Slayer, or are we gonna also add Mugen Train? 'Cause
I think
also
we
have
have,
Mugen Train.
I think we have to add Mugen Train because it is just the next part of season 1.
Yeah, I think it's a really good ending point for a season 1 story.
It really is. Like,
Because like them hopping on, like, because at the end of the actual season 1, they hop on Mugen Train. So I think it's like a really good, it's a really good self-contained story, and it's also a really good continuation.
like I'm obviously everyone knows about Mugen Train. It is the highest grossing anime movie to have ever been made. One of the highest animation in general movies to have ever been made. And there's a reason for that. Like, Demon Slayer on its own has an incredible storyline. It's a story that's just like,
Hey, we have to talk about the story. Okay, let's talk about the story of Demon Slayer real quick.
it's
Demon
the
Slayer
hero's journey.
is about it's the hero's journey. Nice the fun wheel that we all know and love.
Like, I mean, it really is such a fundamental cut of just this is the hero's journey, hero's journey, hero's journey, hero's journey. But then the inner characterizations and the inner details of it all add so much to it.
Mhm.
Like, enough to the point where it's like, okay, unless you're thinking about it, you don't feel like this is just the hero's journey.
Yeah. Synopsis of Demon Slayer.
We start off, this kid, his name is Tanjiro Kamado. He lives in the
with
woods.
his family, with his mom, his he's got a few sisters and a few brothers.
His dad
So he
unfortunately
goes-
passed away because he was always sickly.
Yeah, but
And
so
their family runs a charcoal making and charcoal selling operation in the woods. This does take place in the Meiji period, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah, Meiji, because it was right after World War II, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
mean-
I've heard it all from you, so I'm just like, yeah, I think you're
So
right.
the reason I say that was because, it has those sort of laws that were implemented immediately after, where it's like no clear swords out, no whatever the hell, and also like power lines, trains, sort of those Western pieces of technology that, like, because Japan was an isolationist country, it wouldn't have been exposed to until after World War II and after the US essentially took over everything about it.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's enough of the history part.
So Tanjiro goes out in town to do his business, and as he's coming back, his neighbors are like, "Hey, don't go that way. The demons are out." And then he's like, "Demons? What are demons?" And he's like, "Yeah, just demons." He's like, "All right." So
And he felt bad
I,
because the neighbor was old and his family was dead.
yeah, he was like all by himself. So the next day, in the morning, he like goes back home, and unfortunately, Tanjiro stumbles upon like his family. They've been like slaughtered. There's blood
Absolutely
everywhere.
demolished, aside from, and I'm gonna warn you all now, do not look this character up.
You'll be scarred for life. Jack got scarred.
Her name is Nezuko. Those of you who know what I'm talking about know exactly why. For those of you who don't, I'm also going to say, stay pure, my friends. You deserve it.
So Nezuko survives, and she has been turned into a demon by the one and only Michael Jackson. Okay.
His name is Muzan Kibutsuji.
I called him Muzan until I saw him. He looks just like Michael Jackson.
I
It's
called him Michael
unbelievable.
Jackson the entire time, and Justin was like,
I was like, "What do you mean, Michael Jackson? It's just some big bad, huh?" And then like he has the hat, he's got the gloves, everything. It's crazy.
he's Michael Jackson. But, you know,
But we'll call him Muzan because I don't want to confuse anyone like Michael Jackson.
but that's
So
the
yeah,
impetus for the adventure. That's like the start of the
he
hero's
wants to turn
journey.
his sister back into a human,
And
and to
that's
only do that,
that's
he
the
has to
main
find
plot.
Michael Jackson.
Like that's the main plot. He doesn't know he has to find Michael Jackson yet, but suffice it to say, that is effectively the main plot.
Yeah.
Now, on their way to a doctor, Nezuko wakes up and starts trying to attack Tanjiro. Like teeth bared, claws out. She shows a shape-shifting, and by that I mean size shifting ability, as she tries to grow to overpower him until he starts to remind her, "Hey, it's me, your big brother." And she just like breaks down in tears and shrinks on top of him. And then the current Water Hashira, which is one of the heads of the Demon Slayer Corps, shows up and is like, "Bro, that's a demon. You're not a demon. That's a demon. It's my job to kill demons. I guess I'm just gonna kill her now." And thinking that he's gonna attack Tanjiro, Nezuko jumps in front of him to protect her older brother.
She's not like all the rest, this man thinks.
So
She,
he
yeah.
knocks her out and tells Tanjiro, after he displays some stupid amount of bravery and like attacking him without a weapon as a axe comes and flies towards his head.
He almost killed like one of the biggest bads.
Well, not bads.
Well,
Like the guy's good,
biggest
but the
goods. Biggest goods, but like biggest threats, I guess, to the
at
world
the time,
of
at the
Demon
time,
Slayer
yeah,
at the time.
dude
Like, he's no
was,
slouch. He's no slouch as a fighter, and he almost got him with like zero experience whatsoever.
and it was pretty wild. But then this dude's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna spare your sister because I think there's something special about her. But in return, I want you to go and learn how to be a demon slayer from this old dude who wears a mask."
He wears the Japanese goblin mask, and it's
He
very funny.
does. It is very funny. And then Tanjiro's just like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna go do that now." And they run off towards this old man. Now, this old man trains Tanjiro by having him run down a mountain every day. That's effectively it.
It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard. It's hard to breathe up there. There's traps all over the place.
Like
It's hiding his
like
reaction time and his skills of detecting things and such.
like no matter what, we won't be able to explain it exactly.
Yeah. So let's speed run.
Now, Nezuko's
So
asleep the entire time because Nezuko's secret special ability is that instead of eating people, she can just sleep and regain energy. So Tanjiro's running down the mountain every day, and eventually this old man is like, "Hey, want to learn how to do breathing magic?" And Tanjiro's like, "Yeah." So they go off, and he learns all 10 forms of water breathing. After learning total concentration breathing, which is, and you suddenly have magic powers and can heal faster. So he keeps running down the mountain. Now he has a sword, and traps are bigger and deadlier, and he keeps running down the mountain until eventually this old man is just like, "Hey man, I think I've taught you everything I can. So instead, to take on the next test, you have to cut this rock." So Tanjiro's there for like a year and is trying to cut this rock, and he starts seeing hallucinations of like these kids who turned out to be dead and fought this one kid in a fight every day until eventually the kid pulled out a real sword, and Tanjiro was like, "Oh no, I have to fight for real." And he started smelling the line of victory, and he followed that line of victory and cut the rock in half. And then the old man's like,
my take was like, I didn't think you actually cut it. Shit. Well, take this mask. Go to take this the test. What's the test called?
Final selection.
Final selection test, where you survive for 7 days in an area full of demons, and inside of that is a demon that I guess is there like a set ranking system for these guys?
No, but effectively, like
He's
if
stronger
we're
than all the
using
rest in
Jujutsu
there.
Kaisen, if we're using Jujutsu Kaisen, he's like
A
a
second.
second when Tanjiro was expected to fight like fourth.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was expected to fight,
there
like,
is there is a set power system, but only for the top 12 ranking demons, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah. So like yeah, this place is basically full of bottom feeders, and like Tanjiro will been fine, except this guy is like eating kids, and like he's like, oh, you're one of the Tengu mask students, eh? I can recognize that mask from anywhere. It's got his same etchings on it, and like
Because his master was the old Water Hashira who trapped this guy in this pit of wisteria, which is poisonous to demons, for around 60 years.
yeah.
And the whole point of the test is to stay alive for 7 days.
Mhm.
Now take it back.
So Tanjiro is able to defeat this man. He's like it's like very impressive for like Tanjiro's level of ability at this moment in the story, for him to be able to take him down, because like I don't know, you'd have to be at least, I'd assume, like a demon slayer for 6 months to a year, probably, if I were to give a good estimate of taking down that level.
I
But
wouldn't
that's
even
mainly because
say that because like later in the story when you have to fight the
current demon
spider
slayers we
guys,
have, yeah, the current demon slayers that are like there's a lot of them that just suck. They're bad.
they're fodder. They are Naruto fodder. I mean, they're there to show how strong a demon is.
Yeah.
Like Madara. Like it's Naruto fodder.
But anyway, he defeats him by getting the line of victory, and he's able to cut off, like his neck is to kill a demon you have to cut its neck.
With
And
a very special sword made of
yeah,
sun absorbing metal.
yeah.
That's
So
only
like
found in
Tanjiro's
like the
able to cut
Himalayas.
he's able to cut through all the flesh and cut his head off. He's like, wow. But like Tanjiro is very special with all the other demon slayers because he like gives you like a final like prayer thing that he does, and
Because he
like he
feels
basically
bad.
yeah, it's like you weren't like you got transformed into this thing. This wasn't your fault. And like they like I don't know, like he feels like really he's like wow, that feels really warm.
And
That's really I don't know,
every
it's pretty
demon that
touching.
comes into contact with Tanjiro after he kills them is like put at
Huh.
peace and put at ease and like sees their family one more time and like has this whole emotional thing because Tanjiro cries for them.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet. But anyways,
So Tanjiro passes the final selection along with four other students.
you only see 3 of them at
We
a
see
time.
three at the current time. So yeah, he gets his special sword. It turns black. None of those are kind of weird because like if you get a black sword, you don't know what you want to do with your life, and like we don't really see people with black swords last that long.
And it's like super rare too and it's a whole deal.
So now Tanjiro works for Demon Slayers, and he has missions across the country of him going to deal with sightings of demons in order to help the townspeople. And
And
like
first
each
mission
time
is
he
Portal Dude.
yeah, the guy that like it's like, oh, He's the first guy's a pedophile.
Yeah,
He like
he's
attacks
like,
underage girls.
he's like, I only want women when they're about to turn 16. They taste the
That's when
best
they're the
then.
most fresh. And like, ew, that's grody. And like he like takes like the ribbons and like ornament things they're wearing. It's really gross.
And there are like 3 of him that are all the same person.
Yeah, but Tanjiro's able to defeat him. Like not like obviously his ace in the hole is that Nezuko is able to fight by his side
Because
because
Nezuko has
Nezuko
a
now
special
currently
secret
sees
blood
all
demon art.
humans as family.
Yeah, because the old man was like, I'm gonna use hypnosis to be like, these are all your family. And she sees like images of her family superimposed on these like kids and every human being. Then, Tanjiro saves the day. Like, he grieves with the
He
dude
like
who lost
asks
his
about
fiance.
demons, and he asks, he's like, you know a demon that can turn other people into demons? He's like, I can't say anything. He's like super scared.
Like, he was more afraid of saying Muzan's name because if you say Muzan's name as a demon, his giant arms will break out of you and dissolve your cells.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
Michael
terrifying.
Jackson really came up with everything.
Like, for real.
So he's like, Tanjiro was like, that's weird. What happened after the
Tokyo.
little guy? Tokyo, the big city. And he's like, I don't like it here. There's too many people. And then that's when he first runs into Michael Jackson.
Well, first he and Nezuko go and get some udon from this like street vendor, and he's like, oh, I have to run, and then he doesn't pay the
Because
street
he
vendor
smells the exact same smell that was at his house that day of when his family.
because he has. We didn't mention this, but he does have a superpower of like sense of smell, and he's like, I'm gonna go find this guy. So he does, and turns out he has a wife and daughter, like a human wife and daughter, just straight up. And to avoid, having to fight Tanjiro in that alley, even though he would have destroyed Tanjiro, he's like, okay,
Instead,
I'm just gonna turn this random dude into a demon real quick.
Cause a commotion, slip away in the crowd.
Which is exactly what he does, but Tanjiro like calls him out by name.
He's like, Mozan, no matter where you go, I'll find you.
So naturally, Muzan is pissed. First of all, he says bye to his wife and daughter, probably forever. And he's just like, ugh, I'm gonna walk in the alleys. And then people start saying, wow, dude, you look sickly, like you're gonna die any day. So he murders 3 people in an alley, 2 by crushing their heads against walls, and 1 by injecting so much of his blood, which is how you turn people into demons, that her cells literally just dissolve. Then, after, trying to take care of the demon, 2 more demons show up. But these demons are different demons. They're nice demons. And they try and,
there's like one's a doctor.
And the other was a sickly kid that the doctor saved and was like, hey, I can save your life, but you will turn into a demon and throw away your humanity. And he's like, you're pretty. I'm going to do it. And then, he's like insulting Nezuko's appearance. And then Tanjiro has a weird scene where he's like, Nezuko's the most beautiful girl from our village. And then they head off to the doctor's house, which is behind a secret door. And they like start talking and be like, yeah, we broke Muzan's spell. I've been alive for 200 years. This is my friend. I figured out how to turn him into a demon. Yada, yada, yada. And we only require like a little bit of blood. So we just ask for blood donations. And then we say it's for other people, but it's actually for us. But we still help those people and we try and take care of them the best we can. And then, that's just dialogue and exposition. 2 of the supposed 12 highest ranked demons in the world show up and start attacking Tanjiro, the doctor, Nezuko, the dude, all of that. One of them has the power of multi-arm and big heavy metal balls that she throws and it bounces around. And the other guy has eye powers that let him control the directions things are going and the speed at which they do. It's a really cool fight scene, but I can't really describe it because I haven't seen it in a bit.
Yeah, but like, those 2 are defeated. And
it turns out
they
weren't even one of the 12. Neither one of them. And Tanjiro's like,
oh,
they were basic. They were basic. They were basic bitches.
I couldn't even. He's like, I suck. So like he leaves Tokyo with like the promise of like, oh, if we get like any more blood, then I'll take a sample of it for you to dissect and see like if you could turn those blood cells into human cells.
And see if we can like turn Nezuko back, whatever.
Mhm.
Next mini arc is one of my favorites. It's the spider time, baby.
Well, before this, like we meet.
No,
a few
you're right.
more
You're
people-
right.
we meet a few more people before
Do
it.
the you
On
take care of the
on
house one.
way. Okay, so like on the way, it's like just moving across the road. He sees one of the finalists of the final selection, which was blonde haired kid. I forgot his
Zenitsu.
name. Zenitsu. And Zenitsu is kind of a train wreck if you think about it for more than
Oh,
2
he's
seconds.
awful.
where
Yeah.
he cries all the time. He's like, "I'm gonna die any day now. Please marry me. I'm going to die alone." And he's kind of funny, but kind of just
Sad.
it's more sad than funny. And then like he's basically just a crybaby the whole this whole mini arc of like this house.
Except when he falls asleep.
When he's asleep, he kicks ass because like no fear in his body, so nothing's holding him back from like doing any of his techniques.
Thunder
He turns
breathing.
into lightning
First form.
or thunder, yeah. Like, I guess there's like a thing where it's like you can't really say it wrong. He's like, "Oh, don't call it fire breathing or whatever."
It's like we're flame breathing, not
I was
fire breathing. Like what's the
I was like,
difference?
It really doesn't matter, but like
Whatever.
it's like he's like thunder abilities and they're really cool. When he's
Now
only when
the
he's
other
asleep, though,
character that was introduced in that house.
was Pig Man, Boar Man. My favorite character.
I mean Inosuke Inoue.
Inosuke is very funny. He wears
It's
a boar
very funny.
mask and he carries 2 swords that he like basically like broke by himself. Where it's like he got like normal swords, but he's like, I don't really like it. And they just smashes a rock on him to make
And made
it,
them serrated.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And like he's like, man, you got a really cute face under that mask, huh?
He is really cute.
He's like insecure about it, I think, so he just like wears the mask. Because he was raised by boars, so like he just wants to feel like that. So
I
I'll
just
wear
like
this the
him.
whole time.
I just think he's fun.
He is fun. He's funny. And it's fun. So like yeah, they like there's a mission in a house with these like lost kids in there. There's like a few demons in there. There was like an ex-member of like the bottom 12 in there. And he was like, "Oh, I want to get my rank back. I want to prove to Michael Jackson I'm useful." But like he dies, he sucks.
He
He's
gets
trash.
bodied. He gets bodied pretty
The
easily
one with
too.
the drums was pretty cool though, because he
That
like,
was
still, like,
that was the one.
Well, he's like like his ability's kind of cool, but like it's like good in this house.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's a
stepped
very
outside,
localized
this-
space. Well, I guess the center drum that made like the giant claw attacks would work fine outside of that, but
Yeah, but like
outside of that move?
the house, the other drums are just useless. It's like I can rotate my furniture back in my house. It's like, oh, good job.
I guess honestly
they
this
kill
arc was like
this-
just good character
it's kinda-
development for
Yeah, it was more like
Inosuke
we're
and
meeting these
Zenitsu.
guys. We want to see what their powers are and like how good they are and stuff.
And Inosuke's funny. Zenitsu is only good when he falls asleep. Yada yada.
So, yeah,
Now
they
it's
kill the
time for
demons
my
in the house,
favorite
they
mini
save the
arc.
kids, and now it's time.
So basically, they all get a call from their magical ravens that are like, "Guys, we need you to go to the mountain. We're sending all of our youngest rankers there to see what we can find." And they're like, "But I don't want to go. What if we all die?" And they go into the forest anyways. Zenitsu is pissing himself. Inosuke's like, "I'm the fearless leader." And Tanjiro's like, "I know I can do it. I believe in myself." Yada, 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 etc., etc. They keep going. Turns out there's a spider family in here. And they see all of their, same level people get caught up in these webs that turn them into puppets that like break their arms, snap their necks, whatever. And they're like, oh no, this does not seem good. And basically all of the demon slayers turn against each other and start fighting each other and trying to kill each other and yada, yada, yada. That's just, her name is Mother. She's the mother of the group. And
She's attractive.
yes, very attractive. And,
And also,
she
she lives in a very abusive household.
she's clearly terrified of her situation. And when Tanjiro looks like he's about to kill her, she smiles and is just like, oh, thank God. So Tanjiro, and this is where he shows like his ultimate move.
Yeah.
To be like, water breathing, 6th form, quiet rain over a soft meadow, or something like that.
and just super cleanly, super quietly just slices through her neck, and it doesn't cause her any pain. Like, she feels nothing but warmth, and it's just like this super sweet moment of Tanjiro like praying over her to be like, I'm very sorry you had to go through this. And then she dies. She's ripperoonies. Then Zenitsu gets stung by a spider.
It's like, oh, you're gonna turn into a spider bug. It's like, oh man.
It's like these creepy ass little hairless dudes. Oh my god, I hate it. And then Zenitsu passes out because he's afraid, and he starts going, thunder breathing, first form, and gets knocked over. Thunder breathing, first form, and keeps getting knocked over and over again until eventually he fucking lands it and cuts clean through this like little spider demon's head and just like lays down, dying to this poison. And all of a sudden it's just, Master, you raised me. I'm gonna breathe and try and slow this poison down. And he does. He does long enough for the insect Hashira to show up and administer a quick little potion of healing, which, you know, slows the transformation process. It helps heal him out. It's a good thing. Now, what's interesting about her is that she has no means of cutting off a demon's head. Her sword isn't designed like that. It's just not built for that because it's said that she's too weak to actually swing a sword like that. So instead, she coats her blade in an anti-demon poison that with one touch kills the demons. Which is a very special move. Giyu is also there. Giyu is the water Hashira from before. And you know, all of a sudden, we're talking like 2 Hashira just showed up, we're gonna be fine. Except a little bit beforehand, Inosuke and Tanjiro run into the father of the group.
He's big and tough and strong.
And he's got a spider head and it's disgusting. And Tanjiro gets his shit beat out of him. Just launched a million miles away. And Inosuke's there like, I can beat you. And gets his ass handed to him, gets his windpipe crushed. Like he dies. And then Giyu shows up and in just one swing cuts this thing's head off. Like, it was really a way of showing how much more powerful the Hashira are compared to, you know, all of the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then,
because like Inosuke and Zenitsu are not fodder, but they're like a bit above fodder.
They're above fodder by a good bit, but that doesn't mean they're good yet. Like,
yeah, they're like, man, he's like, man, I'm trash. He got like really depressed afterwards.
Yeah, he did, and it was also like really good character development for him. That was just kind of shoehorned in a little bit.
He's like, I'm sorry, I'm weak to. Like he said, I'm sorry
because he's so brazen normally that it's just like, wow, he actually apologized. That's incredible.
It's like, who are you and where's the real Inosuke?
And you know, he's taken out of the fight. He's not important for the rest of the mini arc.
Yeah.
Then Tanjiro runs up against the big bad, who's actually supposed to be the youngest son of this family. He is the low. He is number 5.
He's number 5. He's in the lower 6.
Which we were having a discussion on to whether that was like.
He's the second weakest of the bottom 6.
He's not strong. No, he's the second strongest. He's the second strongest.
It goes.
He's number 5.
1 is the strongest of the bottom because it's like 6 to 1 and then 6 to 1.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Not. It is not.
It is.
He's
lower. He's lower 5 because there's an upper 5.
No, it goes 12, 11, 10.
No, it goes. It
goes 1 to
lower 1. It goes upper 6 to upper 1.
No, 1 is the weakest. 1 is the weakest.
No, it's not.
No, the guy from the movie was just like the biggest simp. He was the biggest simp.
He was the lower 1 that got transformed to that guy.
Yeah, he got transformed into it by getting more blood. He was weak before that. He just happened to be, you know, like a total simp.
The way lower 6 was acted, he was acting like oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know. He's acting like he was
everyone was acting like that because compared to Muzan, they're all trash.
The lower 6 don't matter because they're.
Okay,
that spoiler. We'll get there.
1 through 6 don't matter.
Yeah, he's lower 5.
He's number 5. He's comparatively trash.
Compared to Tanjiro, he's way better.
So Tanjiro discovers that his dad left him like of fire breathing, which is different from flame breathing for this one distinction only.
Which is weird, but
And then this is where Nezuko unlocks her secret blood art, which is my favorite in the show, where it's just like, hey, if I get my blood on you, I can make it explode. So
there's like a really cool fight sequence. but
so
then
her
that,
blood
like,
her blood ends up like on part of Tanjiro's sword because his sword gets broke. And as he's cutting through Louis's neck, which is the kid's name, she explodes her blood. So he just gets this explosive spin from his sister's blood at his like half-baked sword and cuts his head off. Or so we think. Turns out,
he's like,
Louis
he's like, I took
decided to
my
cut
own.
his own head off.
I was like, I'm not letting you kill me. You guys are trash. And then
And then
you get
Gyu
into
shows up
the
and is just like, hey kid, you did good, and just one shot.
11th water art. He's like, what do you mean 11th? What do you mean 11th? You don't have that. And then he's just,
Because there were only supposed to be 10. And then it's just like, no, there are 11. Cuts it,
So
like,
he just
demolishes. Absolutely destroys.
didn't have a chance the second he showed up.
Now, there was one more sibling. The older sister, who at this point is currently running away from the fight to be like, I'm afraid of Louis. I'm afraid of dying. So the insect Hashira shows up, and this is where we discover about her weapon. Because she's like, yeah, I get that you did that, but like, you also have to understand, like,
before you got here.
and
Like
didn't you kill people for your
60
own
people.
joy? Like, for your own joy? I counted, like, and you didn't have to kill them. You just chose to. And then
There
she's
were
like,
12 in the upper forest alone, like over there.
and
then
she's like, I was commanded. And then the insect Hashira is just like, you know what? It's fine, and just stabs her like a couple of times, and
She's
then
like,
she
"You
just
can repent
breaks
right
out
now."
in poison.
Like
She just
was
dies.
scared.
She dies.
Like beforehand, she was like, "You can repent right now. If you could just take all the things that you did to those humans, then we'll forgive you. It's fine."
And she's
And
like,
then
what?
she's like, what? She's like, no, I don't want this. She's like,
And
well,
then she's like, well, I guess we can't be friends, and just like murders her.
she has poison.
And then
that, like, it's
she
made of
decides,
the
Wisteria.
Wisteria.
And then she decides, hey, I'm gonna go and try and kill Nezuko. So it's a battle between the Hashiras for a little bit, which Gyu ultimately wins for a bit, and then she breaks free and is running after Nezuko. And then the little crow that pops up is just like, don't kill Nezuko! Bring her before the leader of the Hashira! Which you can take over.
So, Tanjiro gets put on trial, essentially, against all the Hashira and the leader of the Hashira, who's blind, and I call him Neji Hyuga. He kind of looks like him.
He does kind of look like Neji Hyuga.
And so yeah, like they show up. They're like half of them are like, well, we should kill her because she's a demon, and demons kill people, or whatever. And half are like, well, we got to hear him out because like she hasn't killed anyone yet, right? He's been like traveling with her for a while. So like the guy shows up, and then like one of like the asshole Hasira are like, all right, she isn't gonna eat me, but she should be fine if she sees a little bit of blood, eh? And then
And he stabs himself in the hand.
And like basically taunts her like, oh, you want to eat me? Come on, you want to eat me, don't you?
And then
like,
he's just
no.
like, excuse me for my disrespect, master. Brings her into the shade because demons in this world are just vampires.
Yeah, she can't go out in the sun.
And she like comes out of the box and
she's like thinking about it, but then she like
stares at
sees
this
her
guy's
brother.
arm. And just with her mouth full of drool, just snaps her head away.
She's like, no,
no,
I will not.
And then Neji Hyuga's just like,
huh.
I think that's enough proof for me.
Right. And then also, by the way, if Nezuko does ever eat a human, then that means Tanjiro,
the old man,
and then,
Gyu,
the
they current water Hashira,
kill themselves.
Yeah.
They all have to die
after killing Nezuko.
Yeah.
Which is a bit rough. But
that makes sense. It's like a nice price to pay for if you because this like in like essence they don't really know if like she'll ever eat a human one day. And like if that's true, then that means that human death could have been prevented if they dealt with Nezuko by killing her previously.
So it makes sense, but it's also like, okay, this is kind of important.
So anyway, that trial ended like, okay, Nezuko, you're fine, you're good.
And then like, the insect Hashira,
the three main boyos, they're all injured because of what happened in the forest. So they all get taken to the hospital. Well,
which is that's run the by, insect Hashira's house.
Yeah. So they're there for a while, and by the time
It's
when they
a
can like
training
all
arc. It's a training arc.
yeah,
It's a
it's a
training
training
arc.
arc. When they can all move, they train with the insect Hashira to learn total concentration constant, which is continuing to do total concentration over and over again without
All
like ever.
day, 24 hours, like masterful.
And they have to blow up these gourds with only their breath, and it's like the gourd gets huge.
And it's like the size of
it's
the
like half.
person.
It's like half their size. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's literally a
it's a
training arc. It's a
So
training arc.
that's not much to talk. This is basically the end of season 1 because by the end of the training arc, they go to the Mugen Train to help
No,
out the
the
Flame
Mugen
Hashira.
Train. I love the Flame Hashira. So the Mugen Train,
Since Mugen Train's a movie, let's not like go like
super in depth. Yeah.
point by point. Let's go. Yeah.
So they get on the Mugen Train because they're trying to find and meet up with the Flame Hashira because Tanjiro's like, hey, can you teach me about fire breathing? And they run into him. He's in a car. And the way he's introduced is by just snarfing down some
Tasty.
food. And every bite he takes, he just goes, tasty. Tasty. And he keeps going like that.
He's eating like 18 boxes.
And Tanjiro
still
just
eating.
sits, and then he's like, hey, Mr. Hashira. And he's like, oh, hello there, boys. And Tanjiro's like, hey, do you know anything about fire breathing? And he's like, I'd tell you if I did, but no, I do not.
And that's where the movie ends.
It would be nice if
because
it
the
did.
train is then taken over by the lower one, who has been given a power up by Michael Jackson at the end of season 1.
Muzanki
And
Butsuchi.
he promises a bunch of humans on the trains like, oh, if you help me out, then I'll let you live in like a dream forever, where nothing bad happens, and
Because they all
you
have
get
like
to live without your loved
tuberculosis and
ones.
cancer and shit.
Yeah, it's horrible. But like, yeah, they are like sent to deal with them, and I don't want to go like super in depth because like I really like the scenes of them when they go in to
It's really good.
attack them.
Suffice it to say, it's really good.
It's a really good.
Like,
really
it's a
good
lot of
scenes.
characterization.
Mhm.
But
Inosuke's
eventually,
and Zenitsu's are more played out for jokes, but Tanjiro and the Flame Hashiras are really interesting.
and Tanjiro ends up figuring out how to escape the dream, which is just kill yourself in the dream.
Which is crazy. That's like,
And
like
he gains that knowledge
that's,
because Nezuko's like headbutting him over and over and starts bleeding and then makes him covered in flames,
yeah,
which
But, like,
apparently
it's
are
like- it's
only
like-
harmful to demons.
that like I mean I don't know because I suppose
They didn't burn him,
that's true. It did burn the rope.
but the rope was also demon power.
That's true.
I
But,
think
so,
it'll be
like-
discussed later.
Yeah. So anyway, like even if like the slight chance you're wrong about being in a dream, then that's just you're dead. It's an all or nothing, and that's metal as hell.
Yeah, and he does it like 70 times throughout the movie. Like,
Because he has to go. He goes on top of the train. He fights off lower one, and he like keeps having like kill himself, wake him out, kill himself, wake him out, and like
and he beats the lower one. But it turns out
Then-
he doesn't
wait,
beat the lower
that,
one.
wait, we shouldn't spoil this too much. I'm trying to think of how much to hold back. 'Cause I also
He
want
doesn't
people
beat
to
the
watch-
lower one. Fight. They eventually beat the lower one. Then something comes and something happens, and then something happens to the
and
Flame
then- and then the
Hashira.
movie- Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
I
train-
don't want to spoil any more than that.
It's hard to talk about this because it's not like when you think about it, it's not like a movie with like a lot of structure. It's just the Mugen Train arc.
It is
condensed into
just the Mugen Train arc, but it is done so well,
With-
and the
with a lot-
animation alone,
great
is-
animation
and it also sets up for the next part of the story so perfectly. Oh.
Mhm.
But anyways, that's enough about Demon Slayer. Justin,
the final show on our
we
list.
watched a show
the most
today.
divisive on our list.
I wouldn't say
we
it's the most
watched-
divisive because I'm
Oh.
still confused about it.
We watched Q Force today.
I will say, the trailer was
better
very
than I thought
misleading.
it was.
The trailer
Yeah,
was
the trailer
insanely
was-
misleading.
Really bad.
Now, before we get
Yes.
into it, Justin, would you recommend this show to anyone you watch?
Anyone I watch? Like YouTubers I watch?
Anyone to watch it.
Would I recommend it? I'm trying to think. Would I recommend? I feel like a lot of people that I know wouldn't like this show. Not because like it's more like just because like the story. It's really weak. This is the most on the fence I've ever been about a show in my life.
Ever.
And that's
I'm a
that's-
very
'cause even-
divisive
'cause, like,
person.
I would be like, would I recommend this now that I know what this all is to a past version of myself? I don't know. Because there are parts of the show that I really like. There are two characters in the show that I really like. I like
Stats is my
Deb and
favorite
I like
character.
Stat.
Stats is
because
my
they're
favorite character. Deb
they're
is
funny.
close second.
They're characterized very. Stat is also my favorite character, with Deb very close behind. They're characterized very well. They're funny. I think they have all the best lines in the show. And like
They also
I don't
named
know,
a gay guy Twink. Like that's just what he
It's-
goes by. Like that's
this
just his
show
name.
is very varied.
It is
in
it
its
is either one of
delivery.
the best shows in some scenes or literally the worst show I have ever watched ever.
Yeah, it like sometimes it's like if like you have like the good characters isolated from like everything else that's happening
It's so
in like a
good.
fight scene, then it's awesome and it's so fun. And then like the next scene, Twink is like,
Twink is in it.
yeah, Twink is the worst character ever. Like I mean, like Buck is worse, but like Buck gets at least Buck gets watchable and better as the series
And Buck is
goes.
designed to be that bad. Twink is
So,
supposed to
yeah,
be like
I
a
like Buck is
somewhat
in character.
relatable, like queenie
Buck is in
character.
character. Buck is in character the whole show. So like I can't say like, oh, Buck's a bad character because he's not.
Twink
He's a
Twink is an
Buck is well
afterthought
written. Twink is like, oh, here's a reference to a movie that I've seen.
constantly.
Here's a,
It's nothing but reference.
it's just
And look,
annoying. It's
and the main character,
it's just boring.
Steven, he doesn't add anything. But then you
Yeah.
have other like side characters like Stats and like Deb and like Stats' girlfriend and Deb's wife and V and Karen and like all of these other characters.
It's just like, man, I wish the show was just about you guys. Because you guys are interesting and fun to watch on screen, and like they have good chemistry with each other when they're
And the other thing is,
acting together.
I can't say the show looks bad either because it just doesn't. Like it's not a
Yeah,
bad
I
looking
think the
show,
backgrounds
but
of the
there's
show are
something
really
about
well.
it.
I think the backgrounds of the show are really well drawn,
And
I
it's
like
animated
I like
incredibly well.
Yeah, I like a lot of the model. I like a lot of the models, and like a lot of the designs could leave a lot to be
Hey.
desired.
Hey Justin,
Yeah.
want to talk about what's animated
Oh
on ones?
yeah. Oh yeah. They animated balls and dick on once, multiple times in the show,
Every time you see a
And
dick
that-
and balls, it's on once.
and I'm like, what do you mean? Why is the bounciest thing on screen butts
Hold on,
nuts?
hold on. To all of you uninitiated, because I was once like you,
Yeah.
on ones,
Animation is usually done in a 24 frame window, or if you have 24 frames every second, animating on ones means you have one image for each of those 24 frames to make up the second. So animating on ones is the smoothest animation looks in 24 frames per second. Animating on twos is when you draw one image and that holds for 2 frames. So you have 12 images per second. So like the characters are animated on like twos, sometimes threes, but like mostly twos. And then like the balls and dick and tits are all animated on ones, and it's so weird and jarring because it's
and
like,
it
oh,
draws your
my
eyes to it
draw
so
straight
fast.
to- I'm like, man, Buck's nuts do bounce, huh? And I'm
And
like,
they do.
why? It's just I didn't have to see Buck's nuts.
But you did. And
I
that's
did. And that's
so I would only recommend this show if you were somewhat interested in it from the beginning.
yeah.
Or
I
you're
would
like-
recommend the show if like I don't know, like the
If you've
filler
never
did
heard of it,
mislead-
you don't have to watch
You don't need.
Like-
you don't. The show is not.
This isn't like the next
it's
BoJack
not a
Horseman.
game changer. Yeah.
Procedure, sir, always. Then your
Like,
rank of lieutenant
I'm somewhat
commander is
excited
honorary.
for
No,
season
sir.
2.
Why the
And that's
fuck
why
did
did
my
just start
yeah.
playing audio
Yeah, it
by
did.
itself.
Yeah, it
But
did.
like, yeah, I'm not like
I'm gonna watch season 2 because I'm invested.
I'm kind of excited for season 2 because like the first half of the season's like all right, you know, like season.
The first
episode
half of the
1 is
season
definitely
kind of
the worst
sucks
episode.
ass.
The
Like,
first
it-
episode's definitely the worst episode.
It gets steadily better until like episode 9, I think, is where it peaks, and then episode 10 is like, okay,
Kinda
it's
boring.
there.
I didn't like episode 10 that much.
It wasn't that interesting. Stats was in
It's
it,
like,
and
alright.
Stats carried the episode. Like that's
Because like episodes,
which is
episodes,
every
like,
episode.
like 4 to 9, I was like, damn, the story's getting good. I was interested in the story a lot, but like at the same time, I had
Then
to
it would
go
take you.
through
Then
such
it would take
boring
it out of
either
you
boring
and just be like,
characters or Twink to get there. And that's
Twink is
just,
a
like,
terrible character. I
Twink
don't
is an awful character.
look.
One, naming a gay character Twink.
It's like naming a black character Rage. Marvel.
Naming a non-binary character Snowflake. Marvel.
God,
It's just, I don't know. It's just
it's a mess of a show, man. Like
there's so
if-
many highs and lows that they're just so peaked across each other that it's hard to get through.
It's such
I think as a final score, it would be meh.
as a final score, it balances out to like a 5 out of 10. But there are
Yeah.
scenes that are like a 10 out of 10 and scenes that are like a 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
And
If,
no
like, if
in
it's like a
between.
scene with like stats and like Deb, I wish I got like a scene where it's just stats and Deb. Because like
That's what
that
I'm
was like
hoping
one
for
pairing
in
we just
season
didn't
2.
see a lot.
We got stats
Like,
with
we saw,
everyone
like,
else and Deb with everyone else. It's just those two specifically were not really thrown together.
Yeah.
And Deb's wife, Pam. Oh my god, I love her.
Their relationship's so cool.
Like the way they like effectively kiss each other is just by bonking each other on the head. And it's just like it's this sort of joke, but it also feels so intimate the way they do it that it's just like I could see myself doing this in real life.
Yeah.
Anyways, 5 out of
So
10.
Q-Force leaves a lot to be desired from a lot of its characters in the
Because
main
it
cast.
it shows that it can.
Yeah.
That's the
It
part that
shows that
pisses
the
me
main
off.
character and Twink are
Suck
basically
ass.
just
They're
there to
terrible.
bring the show down, and it's just kind of annoying.
But effectively 5 out of 10.
Watch it
That's
if you're interested.
that's been
But,
our
like,
tier
I
list
don't
for all
I don't
of these
super
shows. It's
well,
2:10 in the
we didn't
morning.
like list like our tiers for the anime. But
Do you
like
wanna do you wanna do you wanna
Jujutsu
well
Kaisen, I would give an 8 out of 10.
I would bump it up to a 9 out of 10 just because animation pretty.
Demon Slayer is my 9 out of 10. Because like 10 out of 10
I'm
is kind of hard to
10 out of 10
my
is
Kid
really hard.
Cosmic.
10 out
Because
like
Kid Cosmic is
yeah,
like
when you're comparing it to Kid
nearly
Cosmic,
perfect.
I would say Demon Slayer is a good 9 out of 10 for the animation alone. Like the story is also incredible, which keeps it at like a 9 out of 10,
I
but
like
the animation
characters, I
just
like the story, I like the animation, I like the art direction, I like a lot of it. I like the music. I like the music on
so
all these shows.
so Kid Cosmic's our number
Except
1, Demon
well,
Slayer's
I
our
think
number
all
2. Would you say
Jujutsu is
Centaurworld?
3.
Oh,
Centaur
really?
World, my number 3 is actually I'm not sure because Jujutsu
Centaurworld is either
Kaisen and
2 or
Centaur World are
3.
so different
Like
from each other.
we'll tie it
But
at
it's
2.
kind of hard
We'll
to.
tie it at 2.
I'll tie them at 2.
Then
Because like I think that like honestly this list of animation is pretty solid.
oh no, we have to tie them at 3 cuz Demon Slayer's number 2.
And then
Last place is
Q-Force
Q-Force.
last, which is it's because like even though it's like bad, it's still got a lot of good parts in it.
If you could watch only a show with the good parts of Q-Force and
Then
like
it would
have it
be-
just be those
And then
parts,
all these shows would be like I recommend all of them, but like Q-Force is just me on the fence of like I recommend it if you're interested, but like otherwise then like I don't know, like
like
not steer clear of it, but like
we sat and we watched it in one night. You could do the same. It is not
yeah,
a
it's not.
difficult show to
If
watch.
you
It
get
is
through episode,
just
if you get through episode 1, I think if you make it to episode 2, and then like get past episode 2 and like you're interested in the plot from episode 2 forward, then I'd say stick with it.
I'd even push it to episode 3. Episode
Yeah,
2
because
didn't
like
hook me.
the reason we went to episode 4 is because of episode 3 was super interesting.
And we
like
have to
how-
follow a rule of 3s whenever we watch a show where it's the first 3 episodes. Justin taught me that and I regret it
Yeah.
ever since. But
Well, I mean, like, hey, it's a good rule because it's like sometimes like shows
Centaurworld.
take a while to get there. Centaurworld, yeah, I was like episode 1 was like I don't know about this, bro.
But then, you know, it caught up with us and we were like, okay, yeah, I'm down. I'm down with the clown on this one.
So yeah, watch Kid Cosmic.
That's the root of it.
That's the moral of the story.
Anyways, folks, good night.
I hope you enjoyed.
I didn't. Love you. Bye.
Bye.